Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 63 of the 214 Sports Show. A little bit of a different setting for me. The internet is messed up at my place, so I had to go to the campus in one of our studio buildings in one of the rooms over here to switch it up on everybody. But we are still gonna have this show roll, and I'm glad to be joined again with TJ Krulwitz as always.
It's good to be here, Joseph. Very happy to be here.
He's been waiting in front of his computer for God knows how long, but it's been a long time. But it's been a great past few weeks just to keep getting these episodes up. And, we have good news to share also for future content. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get some nice reporters in to talk about, the Cowboys draft and, their pre-draft expectations and also what they're going to do after their draft. So we have some key guys that may come in next week and then the week after the Cowboys draft, as it is now about a week away for the Cowboys to make their draft picks. They usually do well. Um,
Ba-da-ba,
if you don't see them, yeah,
ba-ba.
usually don't see them struggle in this time of year, but who knows? Who knows? We've seen busts, i.e. Mighty Smith,
But we see
Mazi
boom.
Smith, Taco Charlton. We have seen booms. We have seen booms. So we've seen many more studs come out of this draft than we have seen bad players in the past decade with guys like Will McClay at the helm doing great scouting work and making this team look much better rolling into the season. But before we get started, uh, I guess we'll dive right into the Rangers, I guess. Nothing else really to say or any more house cleaning, but we'll dive into the Texas Rangers who have, man, this division looks mid. I don't know if you really kept up with it. Really, the whole American League looks pretty mid. The Rangers are now 6-5 in their last 11 ball games coming into this Wednesday morning recording. They were swept last time in Seattle this last series. Before that, they lost the series at Wrigley Field against the Chicago Cubs. After starting 8-2, TJ, that's two straight series losses. Don't know if they can really get this series victory done against the LA Angels of Anaheim, but what are your evaluations of the Rangers through 3 weeks now?
Well, I think we had a TikTok kind of blow up last week about us kind of panicking, I guess,
Yeah.
panicking about the Rangers offense, and people were kind of telling us that we're a little too early to panic. Maybe we're overreacting just a little bit. Somebody called us a casual and stuff. But the thing is that it is not sustainable how they've been winning games. It isn't. They have a negative 15 run differential right now, which is actually the worst in the AL West, actually tied with I was about to say Oakland, the Athletics, the Sacramento
Athletics,
Athletics, whatever.
of course.
Um, but we are tied for the worst run differential. It's not looking too good. I believe we haven't scored over 4 runs in the last 8 games, 7 games. We didn't score over 4 runs against, well, we scored 9 runs against Chicago in that last game in Chicago, but the 3 games against Seattle, I think the most we scored was 3 runs. And now we go into the Angels game and we struggle again. We have to beat them with small ball at the beginning of with the first couple runs. Um, yeah, I just think that the Rangers got to figure something out, and I think that it has to be some lineup changes. We've talked about this before. I saw a stat that it was top 15 worst hitters in baseball right now. With all the stats combined, had Jock Peterson and Marcus Semien both in that ranking, and that is those two players have accounted for every single game where for our leadoff. We've had Marcus Semien lead off every game, and the one time he didn't, it was Jock Peterson for some reason. But anyways, so it's just we got to figure out some way to make this lineup different to make it have some more pop, have some more power. There's not a lot of power. Dolis Garcia struggling with power. Corey Seager struggling with power. By the way, new batting stance for Corey Seager, I just found out.
Yeah,
Kind of
that
weird.
back
Not
leg, it's weird. It is
Yeah, not a
weird.
big fan of it. But obviously now Wyatt Langford, who was our big guy was hitting a home run every other game to begin the season. He's out right now. we don't have a lot of people that could kind of sustain that power that could get those runs in that Wyatt Langford had, which is surprising to say. I mean, just 2 years ago, we barely even knew who this kid was. But got to figure something out. Again, I would love to see Josh Smith be the leadoff hitter, but I don't know. I'm not a general manager for a reason. Maybe Bruce Bochy knows what he's doing, but I think Josh Smith should be the leadoff.
I definitely believe he deserves more playing time, and it wasn't really a slight when we posted that a few days ago. We were not expecting that to blow up at all. I don't know how, like out of nowhere, that TikTok of all TikToks blowing up. And I mean, I don't know how you can say like you're comfortable with what you're seeing right now. Marcus Semien hitting 117 right now from the plate. He looks lost up there. He was just really inches away from a home run last night for those who are watching. Of course, this is a Wednesday recording, so watching Tuesday's opener against the Angels, he was just inches away from hitting a home run.
Got the sac
So it
fly.
was, yeah, to be fair, got the RBI. But Corey Seager, he's heating up a little bit. Went 2 for 3 in the opener against the Angels. A lot of big time players are struggling this season. I don't know if pitching is just doing something different right now, but Mike Trout, even the legend, hitting 186 right now, hasn't had his best start probably ever in his career. But when you look at this Rangers lineup, man, the offense is just putrid. And that stat you brought up, them not scoring more than 4 runs in over like 8 straight games, it's just nuts. I mean, compared to what we saw 2 years ago, it's night and day. We saw this team have multiple four spots in innings in, that season a few years ago. Multiple games dropping 10 plus runs. And now you can't even, beat Seattle, who is struggling at the plate, by the way, and is relied on pitching literally just like us. It's just interesting to watch how this team with now this negative and multi-point differential is still somehow leading the division. 7-1 at home, by the way, struggling on the road. The only home loss has been the opening day loss against the Boston Red Sox. And since that moment, the Rangers have been rolling at home. Open roof last night, by the way.
Hey,
Wish they would do that more, but you love to
about to
see
get
it
too
open on
hot
a
for
Jackie
that.
Robinson day. Can you say it again?
It's about to get too hot for that.
Yeah, it is for sure. This interesting split of, catcher between Jonah Heim and Kyle Higashioka. I really wonder what they're going to do as they progress in the season because Jonah Heim has been, raking so far to start the season. He's been one of our best hitters, been lethal on the base pass. Imagine if I told you that a few months ago. Had a steal last night, but it got wiped away because of batter's interference by Kyle Higashioka. You don't usually see two catchers start on the same day, no less back to back. What are your thoughts so far on how they've been splitting reps?
It's been a little bit confusing. I mean, Joe High was an all-star starter just a few years ago, and I don't think that I get maybe that his switch hitting ability sometimes is not the best. Putting him against lefties is kind of a uh maybe they don't want to have him play against lefties. Maybe they want him only against righties. Um, I get that. It also helps with rest. Catching is toughest toughest one to I mean, you got to get some rest in while you're a catcher. It's a lot of work. But real quick, I do want to say that the 4 runs in the last 8 games definitely hasn't happened. It's 6 out of the last 8 games. They've been averaging 3.24 runs per game this season. So they're not
Oof.
even averaging 4 runs a game. I need to see how that ranks up with the rest of the league because it's just putrid, like you said. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I really like both of them. Higashioka. He hasn't been getting a lot of hits as of late, but I do like his power. Um, I think that I think that it's going. I mean, I like it. I like it. We got to do something to change up this offense. And it doesn't help that Carson Kelly, who maybe a lot of people don't even remember, is
He's
dominating with
raking.
Chicago right now.
Oh yeah, he's
The
raking.
Cubs, he's batting like 300 or he has like 3 or 4 home runs, which he didn't do for us. He did not do for us at all.
Not even close.
But yeah, no, I mean, we got to change up something in this offense. Change up something. So if that's putting 2 catchers out there, be my guest, Bochy.
And in all fairness, I mean, White Langford going out as soon as Josh Young comes in The lineup technically has not been fully healthy. I'll give them a little bit of leeway right there. But, when Wyatt Langford comes back, we're going to need something. We're going to have to see some juice from this lineup because there's not going to be more excuses to run out on. Ezekiel Duran has also been struggling from the plate, still has not recorded a hit this season, has a whopping average of zero because of that. Adolis Garcia, as you were saying, you about to say something?
No, I was just like we were talking just about how explosive this offense was going to be. We thought that this was just kind of some kind of gap year last year where they just
Oh yeah,
struggled. They had too many injuries. They couldn't get anything going with that. This is like the injuries have still kind of stacked up just a little bit this season. Probably not as bad as last season at this time, but it's just so surprising to see this. They've got to get some good pitching teams, but I mean, come on, man. Like I I think the Chicago series they had 0 runs against I forget who it was, but just I mean, man, I don't
that's
know.
wild.
Just
And
there's
even
been
the
too
people in
many
our
games where they've
comments,
scored 0 runs or 1 runner in this season.
yeah, for
Just not
sure.
not fun at all. Not fun at
Not
all.
fun. And then people in the comments in that TikTok we had, I mean, they were saying y'all overreacting and, Jock is a slow starter, which we've still yet to see him turn it around yet, but who knows if we'll see it after this week. But Jake Berger's also struggled as well. Didn't play in the opener against the Angels. Briefly, we can just mention, Tyler Mahle, who has had probably the best start for a Ranger starter so far this season. Once again, went 6 innings pitched, had, I believe, 9 strikeouts and then 2 walks. Only gave up 3 hits, 0 runs in the uh, opening win shutout against the Angels. So, shout out to Tyler Mahle. Finally, you know, starting to get more starts under his belt as a Ranger. He didn't really play that much last year. But he's coming off, 2 Tommy John surgeries. One of the best stories in baseball that is now just starting to get a little bit more love. But shout out to him for another victory and going 3-0 now in the season.
Yeah.
So moving on, yeah, moving on
No,
to the
no, just
Dallas
great
Mavericks.
performance. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry. I
for
was just gonna
sure.
say great performance by Trevor Ball. Um, we gotta take the wins while we can because the batting's been awful, obviously, as we talked about. So thank goodness the pitching has really pulled that weight. Evaldi's had a great season so far as well. Jacob deGrom is struggling, but you gotta expect him to kind of come back eventually at some point, and Jack Leiter hopefully can heal up soon because he had an amazing start to the season. Definitely need him
Yeah,
back.
and Laura Stickles was saying last night in the broadcast, Jack Leiter might be on pace to return this Friday for another game against
Right.
the Angels, I believe. Yeah, for the weekend series after that blister injury. So he's on pace for that, but if not, he'll be back for sure next week, according to Bruce Bochy. Which, by the
Friday
way, is
night, the
Bruce Bochy's
Dodgers?
birthday. Oh, my bad, the Dodgers. Sorry,
Oh,
my bad. The
throwing it
Angels
right into
series
the
ends
fire.
on Thursday. Oh yeah, both LA teams coming into town. Easter weekend series against the LA Dodgers. Gonna be interesting.
That NL West division is tough, man.
Tough, very tough.
Diamondbacks,
I
the
don't know
team
if
we
I'm.
beat in the World Series, 10-7. 10-7, they're fourth place in the division. Same record as us, while we're tied for the best record in the AL. They're fourth in the NL West. It's crazy.
And meanwhile, the Colorado Rockies just sitting there all by their lonesome. Still nothing changed. Bud Black he has the most secure job in MLB, really. So they don't really help him. They don't give him any players. The farm system is terrible, and you're seeing them just get destroyed by the Dodgers every single time they play. So it's a rough division if you're in there, especially if you're a Giants or Padres fan going against the World Series champions. Moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, controversial comments yet again, but are we surprised? This is a pre-recorded podcast again, so we're not going to talk about the play-in. Hopefully the Mavericks win, but we'll talk about Nico Harrison one more time and these comments that he made at his press conference, a very low-key press conference that was not allowed to be recorded via camera or audio. Invited only 15 selected reporters. And in the comments, he was saying, did you justify the Luka trade still a few weeks or months later? And basically, he was saying, like, I'm loyal to Dallas Mavericks. Here's what he said, um, by quote, there's no regrets on the trade. Part of my job was to do the best thing for the Mavericks, not only today, but also in the future. And some of the decisions I'm going to make are going to be unpopular, and that's my job. I have to stand by it. What are your thoughts on that, TJ?
Well, I thought people are just getting mad at him obviously now because this is the first time that he's talked about it since the trade. Obviously, that's going to be kind of controversial. People are going to get mad at him for his comments, but you can't blame the guy for with the season still technically still going on. We don't know yet, obviously, but the season's still going on. You have Anthony Davis and Max Christie active. You're not just going to go out there and say that the trade is bad.
Guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't just say like, guys, I completely suck at my job. I'm terrible at this. This was the worst trade in NBA history. He can't say that, even though we all know that that's true. And I don't know if he knows that's true because we saw that the Fire Nico chance, he's kind of smiling in his little tunnel hideout at the Mavs Lakers game. But I mean, it's uh, Nico's gonna Nico's gonna just Nico's gonna Nico at this point. We all know that it's. I mean, put the calendar date up again. 0 days since the Mavs last embarrassed us. Um, but I mean, it's obviously I don't think that he's gonna say that he regrets the trade right now. Um, but I did wish that he would give some more sympathy to the fans because it's very obvious. You got to be super tone deaf to
Him
think
and
that.
Rick Welts and Jason Kidd, they're making some really questionable
Absolutely,
comments. I don't know what it is.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's got to just figure out a way to get good PR. He's got to find a way to put out some kind of statement that just doesn't make it seem like he doesn't give a shit about the fans, because that's what it always sounds like. Whenever they talked about how he feels about the fans getting mad at him, he's like, "My priority isn't the fans, it's the Dallas Mavericks." And it's like, well, the team isn't anything without their fans. The fans are what drive everything for the, I mean, I don't know about everything, but the fans are part of the team. They support the team. When you have no support, that's going to be really hard to attract free agents, which is another thing he talked about, talking about how he doesn't think that this trade was going to affect Dallas attracting free agents. What do you mean, man? Like I get that you're supposed to not state the obvious, but the obvious is that you screwed this franchise up in the off season and the next years to come and the future whenever you say that you're going to be laying in the dirt or whatever whenever in the first press conference,
That's
past the
wild.
3 4 year window that he said he was whatever, or he said he would bury himself in the next 10 years. You screwed them over 10 years from now too. So
Interesting. Interesting logic.
there's no logic.
True. I mean, it's wild, man. You think about Mark Cuban's role in this, and I'm not going to go after Mark Cuban because you just think about this history of the past, 20, 25 years, the Dallas Mavericks, obviously a doormat franchise for the majority of that beginning of, the franchise's existence. Uh, the tragic loss against the Lakers back in the Showtime era in the late 80s when they thought they could finally make a finals run. They have a very, very stagnant run in the 90s, and then Mark Cuban, buys this team, gets a lot of people to go to the Mavericks, Mavericks games after having poor attendance. They draft Dirk Nowitzki. They really, gain traction in the NBA. Finally, consistent 50-win seasons, go to the finals, lose in '06, but then finally win in 2011. You built this to be a $1, I mean, a 1 billion, a 1 billion franchise entity, and then you sell it off to a guy like Patrick Dumont from Las Vegas Sands, marrying an heir who has no connection, by the way, to the game of basketball. He looks lost up there every time he speaks about, basketball and the Mavericks organization. You know he feels a little bit guilty for this. He has to, Mark Cuban. Like, you see his reaction last week against the Lakers when Luka finally came back, and you see his reaction after the arena starts chanting "Fire Nico." And his logic, it seems to be, when he hears those, is that you should be, a Mavericks fan for life, no matter what happens, not just, loyal to Luka. I understand his logic. And if you saw
He's the
his tweet
players.
yesterday, yeah, if you see his tweet yesterday, he says Dirk is the Dallas Mavericks, then, now, and forever, because someone was criticizing how Dirk wasn't getting a shout out at the game when the Lakers came into town, when he got shown the screen. No shout out at all. And he says Dirk is the Dallas Mavericks, then, now, and forever. No one should ever forget that. The statue will be here forever. And it says tomorrow night, 15 guys will put on a Mavericks uniform for the play-in, root for, the team, no matter what, basically. Be a Mavericks fan for life, he said in this tweet. And so when you think about his comments, do you agree 100% with what he's saying? Do you think that he's lacking a little bit of empathy for the fans, or do you think he's spot on?
I I think Mark is in a very tough spot right now. I completely agree with him about supporting the players. If you're going to continue to go to the games, if you're going to continue to be somebody who continues to put yourself around the Dallas Mavericks or their news, then you got to at least be. I feel like you got to be respectful to the players because again, we weren't the Luka Mavericks. I get that. We're the Dallas Mavericks, but this is betrayal on another level from front office. And so it puts us in a really tough spot as fans. Um, so I don't, I mean, I go back and forth with Mark because I get that, you can't own a team forever. Um, you probably got tired of these fans coming at you and telling you what you're doing wrong as a GM. It probably got tiring. He said he was losing money in the last few years. Um, but for him, but there's still this kind of side of me that's just like, man, if you didn't sell this team, man, like this is like you kind of got the blood on your hands as well. Um, because obviously he wasn't going to trade Luca. Mark Cuban brought a huge amount of loyalty to the Mavericks. I'll always say that he was the best owner in the league. Probably not the best GM in the league, definitely wasn't, but he was the best owner in the league, and he instilled so much loyalty into the Dallas Mavericks, especially not, I mean, obviously the majority of the installed loyalty came from Dirk, but Mark Cuban was there along the entire ride. And I think that it's just tough to see the Mavericks become what the Mavericks are. And I don't know if it's Mark Cuban's fault. I mean, he did sell it to these individuals. He did sell it to Patrick Dumont. He did make Nico Harrison the executive manager. Um, so I don't know. I mean, you got to feel for him at some level, but you also got to realize that it's just he could have done a better job getting different candidates to own the team. He's the guy who shook hands with them. So I don't know. It's kind of tough. It's really I go back and forth with Mark.
And that's why, because the nuance is, it has to be played here because Nico Harrison, like, people weren't really having a problem with him before this trade. It was a good hire at the time. He made a lot of great moves to help this team ahead of playoff runs. We saw with Dinwiddie trades. We've seen it with him acquiring Gafford for the playoff run, PJ Washington, which obviously helped our playoff run last year in the finals run. And it's just wild to see that all these hires, or both these hires rather, or the acquisition of the team has just backfired out of nowhere with just the betrayal like you're talking about. And so I don't know if I'm willing to go all on board and just blame Mark Cuban for this because he seems like he's still hurting a little bit because he misses Luca. He drafted the guy with Jalen Brunson. He seemed to be all in on him, and then you see these Slovenian shirts in the crowd and how emotional it was for Luca on the bench. Obviously, he was attached to the city. He felt like the son of Dallas. It just felt like betrayal and a slap in the face, and he thinks it all starts with him, I bet. And it's hard for him to probably cope with that, being that he sold the stake, his majority stake, and he's still a minority owner, which not a lot of people remember. But when he comes to these games like this and um, brings out these comments, it definitely makes you feel like he still is attached somewhat to the Mavericks, even though his president of basketball operations role that he was said to have, it seems like it's kind of phased away. I don't know if you really noticed that. But doesn't really seem like he's even running basketball operations anymore, even though that's been his title as a minority owner. But the Mavericks, of course, in this Wednesday recording, set to face the Sacramento Kings in the 9-10 matchup in the West play-in. The Warriors won against the Memphis Grizzlies in the 7-8 matchup. They have the seventh seed. And so whoever wins the Grizzlies or wins the Kings Mavs game will play against the Memphis Grizzlies for the 8 seed in the West.
Joe,
Yeah.
I got a question. Got a question.
Go ahead, TJ. In the back, go
Thank you, thank you. In the back row. Come on,
ahead. My
man.
bad.
I'm not in the back row. You know I'm not in back rows.
You're a
I'm
front
in the
row guy, my
front,
bad.
man.
I'm a back.
I'm a great student. But
I'm a back.
anyways, do you think that Nico Harrison sees the writing on the wall and decides to leave this offseason?
I I absolutely think I don't know if he'll leave this offseason. I think he's gonna wait to see how this pans out, for a full year. And I do think that he will not be here in 2, 3 years. I absolutely believe that. I think he's gonna,
Absolutely.
just find a way to get out of here. Don't think the Dumonts are gonna sell. I mean, you can't really like make that kind of, acquisition and sell in like a year and a half, 2 years. But I think there's just been too much of a PR nightmare, too many headlines that this guy's had to face based on his goofy decision. I really think that he's probably not gonna be here in 2, 3 years, and he's just gonna have us face the actions of his the consequences of his actions, basically, because he uh just traded away a generational star. And by the way, we've had a lot of people say like, get over it and stuff in our circle, saying like, why are you still crying about this? Man, look, no team that you have seen, no team in the history of, the modern era has seen something this insane. I mean, the shock that we had that night when we saw the news, we all thought it was fake. Nobody thought that was real. Nobody just trades away their 26-year-old star, 5 time, 6 time All-NBA player. Nobody does that. So it's hard to even recover from this if you're a Mavericks fan because I mean it just hasn't happened to anybody. It's like the Babe Ruth trade, like you've been saying these past few months. That if you
Jason Kidd, shout us
uh
out, man.
oh yeah, like come on, bro. I mean, Rick Wells is trying to call this some
Oh
trade that
God,
he made
we
like
didn't
in the
even
early
talk about that.
2010s. We saw Mark Falwell kind of tear into those guys at the fan. Have a little bit of an argument. Oh, excuse me, the ticket. Had a little bit of a argument and spat back and forth. A lot of tension here in the DFW Metroplex when it comes to the Mavericks.
Yeah,
Hard to
Rick Wells
watch.
comparing the biggest trade in NBA history to a very forgettable trade.
A trade that I had no clue about, by the way. No clue.
I
A
love you,
man
Monte
who
Ellis, though. You're still one of my favorite Mavericks of all time.
we love you, Montana. I miss those
But
sleeves.
no, I mean it's yeah. As somebody who would say that the Mavericks were my team, like obviously I love all of the Dallas sports teams, but I grew up playing basketball, and my first basketball team that I was on was the Mavericks in kindergarten. My coach had season tickets, and we would go to a game, sit in the very last row of the stadium every single year, and that's how I found my love. I went to a Mavericks game in 2012. And I remember having somebody named Dirk was just going off, was scoring a bunch of points. Didn't know who he was, but when I left that stadium, man, I was attached to this team. I was attached like no other team in sports that I've ever experienced. There's no, I just, it's like, it's just so crazy to think like this is a completely different franchise now
Oh
from what I
yeah.
grew up with. I'm thinking about the Interstellar meme. It,
No, no,
but McConaughey,
no.
no.
Like, oh God, bro. I mean, you
Because
think about like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
no, you go ahead, Joseph. I was kind of done.
Oh yeah, but I was just saying, like, it really is night and day. You hear the road players who roll into Dallas and, tout how Mark Cuban used to treat them, give them the most expensive dinner, uh, fine dining. Was that a recruiting pitch? Probably. But, it's still a great way to treat your guests, Great way to treat your players. And it's obvious how Mark Cuban was respected for his office, the front office, the way he used to treat his players, his loyalty. And it's hard to watch to see this downfall of the franchise that's now backstabbed its fans in a way,
How much are
trading
the
off Luka
Mavericks worth?
Doncic.
I'm gonna look. 4.5
It's,
billion.
yeah, he's really increased it, man. Not a lot of people would turn down that deal. Just saying, not a lot of people.
I really don't want to give Patrick Dumont half a 4.5 million, but let's just say all fans put in $20. Come on. All fans put in $20. Can we get the 4.5 billion with that? we
And the
got a
SM,
strong
that
fan base.
yeah, the SMU
Somebody
donors
start a
can probably
GoFundMe.
pitch in a little bit more.
Pitch
Yeah,
in $20. Let's have the fans buy the team like it's the Green Bay Packers, where they all have like the minority share of the team because they all bought stocks in them or whatever. They because the Green Bay Packers, they don't have an owner, right?
right.
Yeah,
The
like let's
fans are
just
basically the owners. They're a public entity.
just
Yeah,
make it like the Packers, man. Come on.
that'd be awesome.
Get the fans to buy the team. We can do this. We can all put in
Yeah,
$20.
yeah, man. Interesting season to say the least for the Dallas Mavericks. Not what any of us expected after a Western Conference winning season. Um, Moving on to the Dallas Stars here, and not like it's getting really any worse here or any better for the podcast, but man, rolling into this Wednesday morning, the Dallas Stars, losers of six in a row after thinking they could fetch the Winnipeg Jets. Man, oh man, it's just been very tragic for Pete DeBoer's squad.
They don't pay no
Looks like
D.
they're all locked in to face off against Colorado, which is obviously a headache for TJ Krulowitz, who is sweating during these Stars playoff games. And now he's going to be locked in to go against the Avalanche yet again. TJ, your evaluation through this losing streak.
Bad, really bad. They're tired. They're slow. Um, they're giving up leads really badly. They're giving up 5 goals a game on average, in the last 10 games or so. Um, they look bad. They look really bad. There's no, uh, like the first line struggling. Um, I mean, I want to say that they're struggling to a huge extent to where it's super worrisome, but you know, the production with the offense hasn't been the same either, with the decrease of defensive production, I guess is a good way to put it, because the defense sucks. Um, there's not a lot. I don't even want to blame these games, these high scoring games that they're getting into with Casey DeSmith or Jake Ottinger. Last month, they were both on a heater. I mean, Casey DeSmith having like a 9.92 save percentage in for the regular season or so. As a backup, that's the as best as you can get. And Jake Ottinger has had a good season. I know that there is some kind of concerns about if he can play in big games. He does struggle sometimes. We saw that a lot in the playoffs last year, and he hasn't made a good jump in this regular season to make me that confident in him for these playoffs. But it all comes down to the fact that the defense is just getting ripped apart. And that was something that the Stars have had a big strength in the entire season was the defense. And obviously, the injury to Miro Heiskanen affected it a little bit. Our defense isn't going to be as good without our best player, our best defensive player, obviously. But they have I think that there's just been too many games that's been played this month for them. They haven't gotten a lot of rest. The Colorado Avalanche were done with their season on Sunday, and we still play a game on Wednesday. They get a whole 3 extra days of rest. And the Stars, I don't think, have had a 2 day rest this entire month. It's been since late March that they've had that, I believe, or the very start of May, or May. What am I saying? We might not even make it to May with this team right now. The very start of April, I think, was the first before the Penguins game. Um, or is the Predators game? Sorry, y'all. Sorry, I'm all over the place. But it's just not looking good against a team like the Colorado Avalanche. That just their star power that they have. They obviously have the advantage with star power. They have the advantage with defense right now. Um, the goaltending is where I think the Stars can have it, but if the defense is just letting these players get breakaways and just get right in front of the net, like how is Jake Ottinger? How is the Smith going to be able to um save all the shots. They're not, you would have them come into Superman mode. They would have to be Jordan Bennington and the what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. Uh the Canada versus USA.
The
whatever it's
Four
called.
Nations face
Yeah,
off.
the Four Nations Face-Off Championship. You need them to turn into Jordan Bennington
We
in the
need
Four
that run.
Nations finals. You
It
need
was
them to
going
turn into
crazy.
Stuart Skinner whenever he started playing against us in Game 6 last year when the Oilers eliminated us. That's how you need the goalies to play like that every game to beat Colorado, I believe, with this defense. Um, and I'm really hoping that Randon gets going with the goal scoring. He hasn't been scoring a lot of goals recently. He's been getting those assists, but man, it would be awesome to see him score some goals in Colorado, and kind of help the Stars in this playoff series because it's looking grim. Um, Regular season doesn't matter too much when it comes to playoffs. I think in situational matchups, I think when your team is collapsing near the end of the season, that's obviously going to kind of carry on into the playoffs. Tyler Seguin should be back. It sounds like he's been increasingly more likely to play at the start of the playoffs, maybe on a minutes restriction, obviously. But that's a good sign for some more offensive production, which we're going to need again. Avalanche are going to light the net up a lot against us, I believe. Um, but yeah, I mean, just give kudos to Mark Stone for ruining our season. I'll say that. I hate you, Mark Stone. You are a dirty player, and I hate you. I hate
Well, impassioned fan TJ Kulowitz going off right there in the Dallas Mavericks, or excuse me, Dallas Stars losing streak. Only one game to go in the season, and it'll be done by the time this episode release against the Nashville Predators. And look, maybe I'm just throwing this out here, but you were very high on this team probably about, a month and a half, 2 months ago before it all went south,
you
really.
when they're winning,
Yeah, when they were winning games, basically, is what I'm saying.
winning games.
Yeah, actually winning, putting W's in the W column. But, I see a lot of parallels here, possibly, to the 2023 World Series champion Rangers. Do you think that the Stars could possibly, I don't know, make a run like this we saw with the Texas Rangers, who, they started the season well, same with the Stars, had some, mid-season acquisitions, and then towards the end of the season, it just felt like it was all about to just be finished, and they're about to play a wild card series, and now the Stars are about to play an opening season matchup against, the Avalanche. Do you think there's any parallels there at all? Or do you think I'm just, going crazy?
No, I don't think you're going crazy at all. I haven't heard of that, and that gives me that gives me some hope. That gives me some hope. I haven't heard kind of, I do forget that the Rangers collapsed in the
Oh,
last
it
part
was
of that
bad.
season before going
It
into the
was bad.
playoffs and automatically dominating. Um, so maybe take away the point of me saying that when your team collapses at the end of the season, it kind of carries over into the playoffs. I still think that they're going to be very tired. But the Rangers didn't get much rest either. That wild card series started right away after the last game of the regular season. And they went on to play, they weren't getting that much rest. So I will say, don't give up on the Stars, okay? Don't give up on them.
We won't give up. We won't give up.
You know,
Anything can happen. Anything can
2-0
happen.
against the Avalanche in the last 5 years in the playoffs. Just don't give up on them.
By the way, like I didn't even realize that, but like I feel like we lost them for some reason in a playoff series. It's just like every series is so hard fought that I keep thinking that like they might have dropped one against them like 4 or 5 years ago. But the fact they've been beating us, knock on wood, in the playoffs is very interesting to see, but can't carry that over to this series. And this team has been reeling the past month now, and Pete DeBoer's squad is gonna have to turn around if they really want to win the Stanley Cup. So that'll do it for episode 63 here. I guess we're gonna call it the Tyler Biadasz episode. That's probably the best pitch. Can't do
Still want to go with
Tinoco,
the
can't
Dono.
do
I get that Biotish is a more popular answer, but the Dono's a current Dallas player.
yeah,
He's
that's a
not on
better
a
one too.
nasty division rival
Yeah,
team.
division rival. Yeah. Makes sense. We do invite you to like and subscribe on this video on YouTube. We post it here every Thursday at 11 a.m. You could also follow us on Spotify and listen on the road if you want to as well. We're on YouTube and Spotify at the 214 Sports Show. We also have socials on X, formerly Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok also, where you can follow at the 214 Sports Show as well as that handle 214 Sports Show. So, TJ, do you want to give your socials really quick?
Yeah, so you can follow me on X slash formerly Twitter. When are we gonna have to stop saying that? I feel like it's still like I feel like it's still prominent. Like I still find myself calling it
Everybody
Twitter
does that.
sometimes.
Well, I'm never calling it X. I only do it for like podcasts or something like this, or like something like, TSTV. I'm never calling it X, man. Sorry.
I know it's very interesting rebrand, man. I miss the bird. I miss the bird a lot. But
Yeah, we do
anyways,
miss the bird app.
you can follow me on X slash formerly known as Twitter at TJ.Krillowitz. And then you could follow or TJ underscore Krillowitz. I'm very sorry about that. And then Instagram, you can follow me at TJ.Krillowitz.
And you can follow me on Instagram and X slash formerly Twitter at Joseph underscore Duffy 99 or TikTok at Joe underscore Duffy. Again, please like and subscribe to this video. Share it to anybody you know, please. We'd love to spread the word and share more about our knowledge of DFW sports. We are lifelong fans of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex teams. We talk about, of course, a lot of teams, especially like the Cowboys, who we'll talk about more next week with a special guest who will be revealed in that episode. And then also we'll have a post-draft report on the following week of the 214 Sports Show. So we invite you to watch next week what should be our Cowboys, mock kind of special, our projections for where we see this team drafting players, where from, and how they can impact the team. Again, this has been the episode 63 of the 214 Sports Show. He's TJ Krulowitz. I'm Joseph Duffy. Thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your evening.